And hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Happy to be here trying out a Star Wars role-playing game for the first time. So, welcome in. I've got lots of friends here. You can see them all on the screen. When they're talking, they'll light up. Everyone's got character portraits. I'm going to get this started in just a minute without too much pretense. So I guess without further ado, we will go ahead and lead in. At the beginning here, I have a little prelude, but after that, when things start happening, all of my players feel free to just interrupt if your character is there and they want to do or say something. Don't feel like just because I'm reading something that means you can't talk. No, if you interrupt a character mid-sentence, they will respond to you as if you have interrupted them mid-sentence, though. I will say that much. But otherwise, feel free to jump in anytime. I'm gonna fix things for myself, and then we will be off. So, as the tradition goes, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Days are dark for the people of the galaxy. The Lords of the Sith have all but crushed the Republic, taking over large swaths of the galaxy, controlling most of the Outer Rim, and encroaching closer to Coruscant, the capital of the Republic, with each passing day. It is only the hubris of the Sith Lords that offers the Republic respite from the Empire's advance. Seeing the fall of the Republic on the near horizon, many of the Sith generals and leaders have turned on one another, warring inwardly and forming factions to gain control and sit, ultimately, on the throne that rules the galaxy. The Republic's forces are dwindling almost as quickly as their will to fight. The Jedi Knights number much fewer than in days past, and it is for this reason that you, Sebastian, Nier, and Kahlo, have been recalled to the temple to be dispatched on a special mission. Nier and Kahlo, you reach the top of the lift that takes you to the apex of the highest tower of the Jedi Temple, and the doors slide open to reveal the Jedi High Council chamber through a small door. And that is what you will see on the screen right now. Let me get myself to the right layer. So we can see you all there. You see that the council is already seated and awaiting your arrival. Having beat you here, Sebastian stands in the middle of the room, and I will give Sebastian a chance to describe himself.
So I'm Sebastian. I'm a falling Jedi Knight with a big old scar on the side of my head. And when I was a Padawan, I left the temple for a bit, but eventually returned to the temple to become a true Jedi.
Cool, perfect. So you glance around the room, and you can account for all the Jedi Council's members, either there with you in person or appearing in their chairs via hologram from their posts across the core worlds. The Grand Master of the Jedi Council, I suppose... Oh, I have skipped something vital, which is giving Kara and Will the chance to describe their characters.
Nier is a former temple guard. Once they were attached as a Jedi Knight, they served several years as a temple guard before being called to the front lines. That's where in the battle they quickly gained the rank of master and taking Kahlo on as a Padawan.
And Kahlo, can you describe your character as well?
So Kahlo is a young Padawan who is very ambitious and has a strong sense of justice and honor. He has shaggy chocolate brindle fur with a little bit of stubby face and a very selective taste palette.
Great. So as I said, you can glance around the room. You see that all the Jedi Council members are here. The Grand Master of the Council, Master Tanir Forbud, regards you without expression. Welcome, Master Ziha, Padawan Farg, he says in a monotone voice. He's a Powan man, tall and thin. So you can see some Jedi Council members up here. He is dressed in the traditional robes of the Powan people that accent his above-average height. Even with being seated. He says, "It has been a long while since this council has had the pleasure to address you in person. Tell us, Master Ziha, how are our forces faring against the Sith fleet encroaching on Trevoria?"
Nier took a deep sigh and took a moment to recollect their thoughts. I fear not that well. As you know, I've been recalled from the battle, and I had no choice but to leave someone in my stead. I did not feel very confident of their experience, shall we say, given that they've had not many opportunities to prove themselves. So, unfortunately, I think they just not going well.
I see, Tanir says. Master Borum, who's a small man and a member of Yoda's species, clears his throat loudly. Bring you here to discuss the failure of our war effort. We did not. A peculiar incident we must discuss with you. Despite the fact that he makes a clear effort to conceal it, Master Tanir's wince of tired annoyance at this comment is difficult to miss. Indeed, Master Borum is correct. We have brought you here to investigate a holocron stolen from our vault, though we fear it means much more than that. There is a Jedi Master who was also summoned, though they will arrive in due time and have already been briefed on the subject matter.
Master Rana Oharina, who is an elegantly styled human woman in brown and green robes, speaks up to start the briefing by saying, Republic military intelligence has for the past weeks been feeding us intermittent reports of interest about a cult that is growing in power amongst the Sith. This cult has separated itself from most of the Empire's forces for its apparent worship of the Mortis gods, or Force Wielders, which are a legendary group of powerful Force users that seem to have been much revered by the Jedi and Sith in eras long past.
Chase these foolish old legends, we do not, Borum speaks up to add. But the threat of a new Sith faction growing in power we cannot ignore.
Indeed, we were not inclined to give these reports much credence. That is, until a holocron detailing reports of Jedi interaction with the Wielders was stolen from our archives last week. Any Sith faction that can infiltrate the temple here on Coruscant represents a grave danger to our order.
We will require you to investigate this matter, Tanir adds wearily. You will need to start by discovering how an agent was able to infiltrate the temple and access the most restricted portion of the archives, and what became of the holocron after it went missing. However, we are giving you the overarching mandate to find and neutralize this cult. We are not all of one mind on the actual significance of the Force Wielders in this plot, but we are determined to find the source of this Sith fanaticism and end its threat to our order.
Because this mission will require you to enter Imperial space to hunt for this cult, we've recognized the necessity of calling the Republic Army for aid. We've been speaking with the Republic and have negotiated assignment of a captured retrofitted Sith vessel and her crew. This should allow you to enter Sith space, at least insofar as you remain careful. The ship is known as the Legla, and the captain and a few of her associates have agreed to join us here to discuss the mission and aid in your investigation. Master Oharina punches a few buttons on her datapad, sending a message to summon the delegation from the Legla. You hear the elevator lurch upwards. A few seconds later, And as the doors slide open, they admit a feline captain flanked by a human who appears to be a mechanic and a man clad in armor with a rifle hanging across his back. So if Casey and Lumby would like to describe their characters, feel free.
Yeah, so T-Bone is a human man. Kind of a big, beefy guy. He's really tall. He's not the brightest or most well-spoken, but he is very talented at mechanics, and only enlisted in the Republic Army fairly recently, but has big dreams.
All right, so my character is Chabran Sagala, which he goes by Flash typically. He was a captain in the Spec Ops branch of the Republic military. He's pretty stubborn and hard-headed, but he is very wary of dealing with situations because the way he reached captain was saving a squad that was almost annihilated. But as a result, he's saw that as a failure, so he kind of shrouds himself with sort of this idea that he's the best in the world to try to hide his internal failures. And result of that, he does have a scar on his face from a fight with a Sith trooper. And yeah, that's about it with him.
Great. Master Ocarina is going to say again, Sebastian, Master Zaha, and Padawan Farg. This is the delegation and their captain, Captain Min. And Captain Min bows and quickly enters and sort of politely introduces herself. Master Jedi, this is Captain Sokola. He's a special ops trooper who serves as my chief of intelligence. And this is Ensign Bonville. He oversaw the Legler's retrofit and keeps it running for us. We are pleased to serve you. I trust the General briefed you on the nature of this mission, Captain, Rana says. You'll be working with this group of Jedi, as well as Master Alori Greer, who should be arriving shortly.
As if on cue, the elevator lurches upward. The doors open almost as soon as she says this. Emerging from the elevator is a lone, older Mirialan person, tall and thin, walking with the aid of a large metal staff. I will reveal them. A large metal staff that clashes loudly against the tile floor with each step. They seem in no hurry and hold their gaze straight forward as they walk to the chamber and approach the middle. Master Alori Greer, Tenier begins. We are glad to have you join us after so long on your research project in the Outer Rim. It is good to see the temple still stands, despite the best efforts of the Sith, Alori responds in a gravelly voice. It is good to see you, Tenier. To see all of you. Contributions to the war effort it is nice to see you make, Borum says, making no effort to conceal the spite in his voice. I thought fallen the order would be before return to this temple. You did. I follow the will of the Force, Master Borum, Alori replies. Not the whims of this council and your desires to destroy in fire anything that defies you. I have returned because the light has brought me here. Perhaps you should consider heeding its call as well.
Your bickering will do no good, neither for the war effort nor for the Light Masters, Rana contributes. Better we should take some time to answer any questions this task force has before they begin their investigation.
Quite right, Tenier says. A large task lies before you, and once you are called to enter Sith space, you may not be able to transmit to us. Let us answer any questions about your task before you go down to the archives to begin your investigation.
All right, so the elevator takes you all down to the ground floor of the temple, and as you all step out, Captain Min will turn to Flash and T-Bone and say, I should get back to the Legla and prepare to depart when your investigation is complete. Captain Sokola, Ensign Bonville, please assist the Jedi with their investigation and bring them up to the Legla on shuttle when you're ready to leave the system. Turning to the Jedi, she says, Master Jedi, it has been a pleasure to meet you all. I look forward to welcome you aboard.
Captain Min, before you go, Alori says suddenly, may I ask if the Legla has space to dock my fighter?
Captain Min doesn't seem to have expected this question, but it appears to vex her. I do have a platform for a single fighter. If you prefer, I can dock the fighter currently in the bay here at the station on Coruscant, and we can have your craft transferred aboard.
I perhaps have a more complicated request, Alori says. The light calls me into Sith space. I intend to lead this investigation in Master Ziha's more than capable hands, and go ahead to investigate what I'm sensing. I have a small fighter with a hyperdrive ring, and if I could meet you at your destination, I believe that would be the most prudent path.
As you wish, Master Jedi, Captain Min replies.
Then I shall see you all soon. May the light of the Force be with you all, Alori concludes. And Captain Min and Alori exit the temple together and head in different directions. Now, at this point, the council has offered to answer any questions you have, so you can go up and talk to the council if you have some questions, or you can head down to the archives, whatever you all think.
Do the council members know anything else besides Holocron was stolen?
They do not, most likely. I mean, you'd have to ask them.
Okay, I'm going to ask them if they have any other information about the Holocron.
So we can take you back up to the council chamber, and you all can ask any questions you have. So, Sebastian asks if they know anything else. I take it.
Yeah.
Okay. Tanier is going to say, unfortunately, we have not been able to ascertain much. We put a detective droid on the case, and you can speak with him to begin your investigations. He awaits you in the archives. Do you have any other questions about your mission?
You can also feel free to ask more about any of the Jedi Masters themselves if you're interested.
I'm going to whisper to Flash, and I'm going to say, have you ever seen one of these raccoon people before?
I think I have. I think I saw them once on Dantooine a very long time ago.
Okay. Thanks. Are they friendly?
I don't know. I only saw them from a distance. They're very peculiar creatures, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Do I hear this?
Well, I was actually about to say, Casey and Lombi, would you be kind enough to roll me a sneak check? Which I believe is under, like, presence, if you don't have it spec'd, but I could be wrong. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Or under, I've listed the wrong stat, but...
Perception?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
So who's rolling, me or Casey or...
Both of you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And then, actually, so Near and Kahlo, who I assume are the people who would care to overhear this, can you just roll me a perception?
Perception.
T-Bone gets a 7.
Okay.
I get... Should I run it hide and sneak, I guess? Instead of perception, is that correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
The two of you are sneaking, contested by Kahlo and Nier's ability. Okay.
We'll probably overhear a little bit.
So Kahlo and Nier overhear this whole conversation.
Great.
So after Flash lets me know he doesn't really have any information, T-Bone's gonna go over to Kahlo and say, "Hi," and hold out a big hand for a handshake. Ensign Ty Bonneville, but most people call me T-Bone. Oh, what's your name?
I nudge Kahlo gently on his back.
Callow extends his hand reluctantly and says, "Hi, I'm Calfard. What is a raccoon?
What about raccoons?
What is a raccoon?"
Oh, um, so they're kind of like, do you know what a cat is?
No.
Okay, well, they're sort of creatures that like to eat things and have big eyes, and they have fur.
They're rather like an Ewok.
Oh, yes, I think that's correct.
That's pretty apt, actually.
Okay. I'm not as primitive as an Ewok, but okay.
Well, let's not put them down, shall we?
No, of course not. I only meant it in the greatest respect.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I haven't left my home planet before a few months ago, so it's nice to meet you. And I'm just gonna like slap him on the back, probably a little too hard.
I'm picturing
Pleasure
that
to meet you.
most of the council has just drifted into like being lost in thought here. I imagine that Master Ahorina is looking on in horror at this conversation.
Yeah, she would definitely be looking in the group's direction, maybe staring daggers, wondering about how much paperwork she'd have to fill out.
And then I'm just gonna like look at the Jedi Masters and bow and like take a couple steps back.
So I have a question for about the missions. So I sort of turn towards the council and just ask beyond the fact that we don't know anything aside from the fact that the holocron was destroyed. Did they leave anything behind? Did they destroy anything? Did they break anything open to get a sense of where they came from? Or did this holocron just vanish in place?
Tanir is going to say, I fear that we're not intimately acquainted with the details of the crime. As the Jedi High Council, we have to oversee all of the matters of the Republic. However, as far as we're aware, there was no forced entry. I believe the Investigator Droid will be able to give you all of the details about the information connected with the crime.
Fair.
Sounds like we'll need to talk to this Investigator Droid.
Agreed.
Yeah, should we make our way over to like the security room where all the cameras feed to?
That's a good point.
That's
Do we
where
have
the
access to
investigator
that?
droid is, right?
So the Investigator Droid is waiting in the archives near the
Oh,
Holocron
okay.
Vault.
Let's go to
where
the archive
theft
first then.
happens.
All right, I guess we can go.
All right. If you're all satisfied with like, as long as no one has any more questions for the council, you can go to the archives. They do have a busy schedule, so they will not let you back in at the end. They will have.
They
other
don't
matters
seem to be
attend
full of
to.
information.
Yeah, they don't seem like they want to talk to us.
Yeah.
Well, they have given you this task, and you've basically been like, okay, but how did it happen? And they're like, isn't that just what we asked you to figure out?
But how did it happen?
Yeah, exactly how.
All right, cool. So we will transition over to the archives here. Let me just do some adjusting. Okay, I think maybe there is good. Okay, so you enter a grand chamber that the Jedi among you know well. Blue shelves glowing with holodisks surround and fill the room. Far off in a distant corner of the archives, you see a section that's been taped off taped off with crime scene holotape. The Jedi in the party immediately recognize that as the corner where the archives are. Or the corner where the Holocron vault is. Sorry, I'm looking at too many things at once. The section has some work tables near and outside the tape where a Jedi and a Republic officer are studying discs from the archives. So you can see the Republic officer there, and the Jedi who has this little droid with her. There is also a librarian station by the tape, where you can see an archivist at work, and the detective droid is standing right in front of the crime scene holotape.
I guess we're going up to the detective droid.
Yeah, okay. So
Sounds good.
as you
I am.
approach... Sure. You are also welcome at this point. It's not strictly necessary, but you can start bringing your tokens out. You can drag from your character sheet straight onto the canvas here, and it should bring tokens out. That way, in case you want to split up at all here and do different things, we can keep track of who is where in which conversation or what have you. But for now, I'll assume that you're all talking to the detective droid, but I know sometimes it takes a minute to work out the wonkiness that is Roll20, so I'm going to give you the chance to do that while the detective droid talks. If anybody needs any help with that, I'll also field questions about it in a second, because I know this is a lot of first time Roll20 for people. Anyway, so as you approach the investigator droid, he says, "Greetings, Master Jedi. I am D3 Tech 43. I have been assigned to relay the information I have gathered about the Holocron theft to you. 2 days ago, the archivist on duty did a routine inventory of the Holocron vault. At that time, she found that the Holocron in question was missing. The archivist from the night before also inventoried the vault's contents and found that all Holocrons were present at that time. Both archivists are of high reputation, and both have been investigated thoroughly, including confirming their whereabouts leading up to and following the Holocron's disappearance. We conclude the Holocron must have been taken in the night. Considering there are no signs that the vault was forced, we are left to conclude someone opened it by appropriate means. The vault can only be opened by a Jedi Master. They are assigned a particular key device that they are able to use on the vault in combination with the application of Force power. If that conclusion is correct, the person who entered the vault was clever enough to erase the record of whose device was used to open the vault. We have been, so far, unable to identify any viable suspects in the crime or to locate the Holocron."
You see Nira kind of sigh a little bit and just shook the head. "I should never have left my post." I look at the droid and say, if they were clever enough to erase their device, what would they use? What means they would use to erase their identity?
They would have to have used some sort of technical skill to erase it from the computer. While the vault requires Force powers to enter, the system that issues Jedi Master keycards is entirely electronic.
Could I take a look at the key card system?
I do not currently have one on me, though I am sure the Archivist would be happy to show you an example. Unless, just to be clear, if you wanted to look at a keycard, the Archivist could do that. If you want to look at the door, the droid will let you. He just didn't understand, if that's what you were asking, by which I mean I didn't understand.
Sure. I would like to look at the door and also the whatever somebody would have to tamper with to erase their records.
Okay, sure. So you can approach the door and you can roll me an investigate check. to sort of look at the door. Um,
What is investigate under?
I believe it is. It would be great if I just had the sheet pulled up most of the time, because I can never remember. I
Is that
believe
perception or knowledge?
I believe it's perception.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just do a
It is.
perception check. Cool, perfect.
Got a 3.
Okay, well, the door looks very complicated to you. You've never seen anything like it. You suspect that's because it's Jedi technology. It's not surprising. You're pretty tech savvy, but this incorporates the use of the Force. Maybe that has complicated it somehow for you. It doesn't seem like... It seems pretty opaque to you how the mechanism would work or how you would erase data.
Okay.
So I take T-Bone aside and I tell them, if it means a Jedi can open the door, they may have let someone in and take it out. Maybe there was a bounty on this?
That could be. Do we think that one of the Jedi is behind this? Or were they being, I don't know, forced?
That's certainly a possibility.
Can I ask the droid if there is like a central terminus where would someone be able to erase the data from any old computer, or would they have to go somewhere specifically?
I fear, Master Jedi, if I may speak frankly, that the Jedi have allowed their use of the Force to make them not as technologically capable as the rest of the galaxy. Information on who has accessed the vault is not relayed via any communication anywhere. It is stored solely in the hard drive on the device that reads the keycards on the door. So logistically, no. I fear the droid may have been a little opaque.
So that would mean someone would have had to like take the hard drive out and edit it?
It would be possible for anyone with a rudimentary understanding of hacking to access the hard drive on the door and erase a record. I fear that it may be not terribly difficult to do this. As I said, the Jedi have come to rely on their use of the Force and have perhaps fallen behind the rest of the galaxy on technological security.
Do we know the contents of what was stolen on the holocron?
So from a meta perspective, actually, can you roll me a knowledge? This will be a very easy check, but if you can just roll me a base knowledge, I'll take a look at it. Good thing it was very easy. You recall the Jedi Council informed you that the holocron that was stolen had information about the beings known as Force Wielders or Mortis gods. So that's what was on the holocron. That's actually why they're concerned. They think it's connected to a greater plot that involves the Force Wielders or Mortis gods. We'll try to stick to the term Force Wielders, but people know them as multiple things, so it might come up with both.
Are there any cameras in this room?
The Jedi are very particular about their archives, and they do not allow cameras in this room because it would allow people who do not have security clearance to perhaps see the secure information contained on the holocrons and holodisks in this library.
Do I, as a Jedi Master, have access to this area in general?
You would, yes. So, in fact, the question about seeing a card, Nier could show you theirs.
Hall pass.
Yeah, I'd like to watch as you I don't know, interact with the door in any way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the entrance of the archive and use my card.
Sure. So you go up. Is anyone trying to, like, T-Bone, are you trying to observe this process? Like, do you want to roll another investigate check while Nier does this, or are you just...
Yes, I would.
Okay, sure.
Can I request using a different skill? Like technology, maybe?
Yeah. So if you roll technology, the thing that I'll say is just that you will ascertain only information about the technological side, but that's probably fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, perfect. So Nier puts the card in. The way that it works, I don't know that I'm terribly good at describing physical things, but essentially you put the card in and then you use the Force to activate a mechanism that swivels the arm around and drops the card into like an electronic reader that then registers whether or not the card has access. So Nier does that, uses like a Force activation, the card loops around, and go ahead and give me your investigate check whenever you have that done. Or wanted a tech check. Sorry.
Yeah. So I got a 1 on my wild die.
What is the total, including the 1?
11.
Okay, so we'll say that this succeeds. But with the caveat that you're totally like mystified by this system. So for the next couple minutes, you're going to be stuck at this door, just sort of like staring at it. However, you do glean the information that this is a pretty basic card reader. This is essentially like the same thing you use to enter an office in the like modern human world, where it just like has like a magnetic strip that boops and reads it. The hard drive, as the droid has already told you, is self-contained in the system. Could be accessed by a hacker without too much trouble. It is actually, the electronic system is external, which is what allows the Jedi to like plug in and read who has accessed it. And so you learn that this is pretty simple technology. It would not take like an expert hacker to have erased an entry, especially if the Jedi do not have a good record of who has entered this before. Something as simple as like using a magnet could have erased the hard drive, because they don't even know how much has been erased. So they just know they don't know who accessed it that night.
Got it.
So I just enter through and look at the area around. I don't see anything that stands out beyond like the missing holocron that's not in this place.
Yeah.
Can I like investigate or something?
Yeah, go ahead and move your token into the vault if you would like. And which is the area down here, of course. And you can take a good look around, and you can roll investigation.
Yes, please. Oof, not many. Okay. I got a 1 on my wild dice. 6 total.
Okay. You do a loop around the holocron vault. There's sort of like, there's a plinth in the middle that has holocrons all along the outer walls of it. There are outer walls with sort of like holocrons all around it. You do an entire loop. Sort of embarrassing, but you don't notice the holocron that's missing. Like, you can't even find what they're talking about.
Oh wow, this is way too many holocrons than I remembered being here.
You have been in here before, you've accessed holocrons, but I suspect, and you can tell me if this is not the case, I suspect that the holocron is maybe not Nier's favorite place. Maybe they haven't spent much time here, and that's why a loop around.
Yeah, I mean, books are nice, but not this kind. Yeah, I just loop around and come back out. I don't know what else I can do here.
Are you going to, out of curiosity, either one is equally acceptable? Are you going to elect to leave the door open when you exit, or are you going to close it?
Oh, do I know that it can be left open?
Yeah, it can be left open. It's not a door that automatically closes. So if it were, actually, I suspect that you could lock someone inside. So I don't think there's access from the other side.
Good to know. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it open. I'm gonna look at the other people in our party and sort of gesture to them. The vault's open if any of you want to take a look in here, but nothing stood out to me.
I like that Nier's not quite ready to admit that they couldn't even tell which holocron was missing.
Yeah, I'm not giving that. I'm not giving it away. I have a lot of pride. This is just, it's fine. It's totally fine.
I'll go in and take a look
Okay.
to see if I can find this missing holocron.
Go ahead and roll me an investigate check.
What's investigation again? What's it under?
Perception. I
Perception?
believe?
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, T-Bone just is like tapping at the mechanism of the door, puts his ear up to it, sees if he can hear anything.
I got a 7.
Okay. Nothing on the critical die, I trust.
No.
Okay.
It was a 4.
So while you're not able to glean much, you can find the missing holocron, which is on from the map perspective, the right side of the central plinth, just over halfway up. Yeah, it's the I think I'm pinging it here as well. Yeah, so
Cool.
You've got the exact right one. On that perception check, you don't learn anything particularly useful other than there's no clear signs that the holocron has been hacked out of its case or anything. Looks like someone took the holocron out.
Okay, so are the holocrons secured in their little sections?
Yeah, so they're in
And
these sort of stone. They're flush with the stone, and in order to be removed, because there's no mechanism, the traditional process to remove a holocron would be to force pull it out of its enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Callow is going to walk over to the Archivist and ask, if I want to find a particular holocron, how would I do that?
All right. So just move this up. Yeah, beautiful. The Archivist is a middle-aged man with a polite demeanor. So you ask how you would find a holocron, and he just says, they're all cataloged. Generally, if a Jedi is looking for something specific, they would ask me where to find it. Some masters who have been in the holocron vault with much frequency know what they're looking for and go in without me, but traditionally they consult the librarian and we're able to look it up in the system.
I guess I ask, if you are not here and I wanted to do some more research, is anybody able to access your catalog?
You are a Padawan, are you not?
Correct.
I'm afraid, young Padawan, that you would not be able to access the archives without the would not be able to access the Holocron Vault without the supervision of a Jedi Master. However, if a Jedi Master comes down here and wants to look for something, there is a publicly available registry of holocrons in the same system that tracks where the holocron discs are, though it is also only accessible to Jedi Masters.
Is it because I need that key card thing?
The system by which you can see where the holocrons are cataloged are not maintained with the same system as the keycard. They're simply your login credentials as you're used to logging into one of the Jedi temple computers. I love how this has become a lesson in IT security. Midstream. Just like.
Do the Jedi use two-factor authentication?
Yeah. I fear not. We don't carry cell phones, so it's a little hazy.
So Callow is going to run back to the investigation droid and ask if he's checked the access logs of the catalog thing.
The access logs of the catalog.
Yeah, between that time period.
The investigation droid is going to say, "I did not think to do that, though that is a clever methodology. I think the most expedient way for you to find out that information would be to discuss the matter with the archives. I can run my queries, but it requires security clearance from the Jedi for that particular task, which means the archivist is probably more suited to help you rapidly."
Okay.
Can we
Cal's
not take
gonna-
the droid security clearance as Jedi?
So Callow's going to run... sorry.
I was going to say, the security clearance needed to access master-level information for a droid would need to be issued by the Jedi High Council. And however, I mean, you could do something illegitimate like Master Ziha could log in and allow the droid to access it.
So Callow's going to walk up to Master Nier and go, "Master, can I borrow your username and password?"
I cross my arms and looking down at Callow. I'm afraid not, but depending on what you're looking for, I can ask it for you.
Sorry.
Don't forget, you have to take care of your username and password. You must not share your password with anyone.
Yes, Master. So Callow said he has a hunch and wants to check the access logs of the catalog.
Alright.
Or I guess he should probably just ask the archivist, but he doesn't know him that well and doesn't really trust him yet.
I mean, you're a Padawan. It takes some time, and you have to earn that.
Yeah.
I go to, what was it, the Archivist?
Yeah.
Yeah. I basically inquire what Kala was asking for. And to say, how can I help?
Okay. By the way, the archivist is someone that you know Nier from your time as a Temple Guard. They've served as an archivist for a very long time, and there aren't a whole lot of them. So the archivist, just for your information, is named Kim Kyung Shik, and like I said, you're familiar with him. He's always been a nice person. You don't know much.
Yeah, we've just seen each other passing by. Yeah.
Sure. So you ask him Kalo's question about accessing the logs. He says, "I'd be happy to look at those for you. Your Padawan could have asked me himself." And he'll run a quick query. I mean, you have been, and the archivist knows this, your group has been given a mandate to investigate this, so the chances that Jedi personnel will be uncooperative are low.
Right.
It's their job to be cooperative with you, just as a meta note.
I'm just going to make Callow super suspicious now, just to fit the narrative.
So he'll run a quick scan. He'll say, "There's nothing peculiar that I notice," and he'll give you reference to the list of like when what was accessed, and so yeah. If there's anything specific you'd like to look for, you can let me know, and I can tell you whether or not it's there.
Okay. I'll pretend I'm like scrolling through and thinking through it. Well, anybody else can ask their own questions.
Can I ask the archivist if anyone has done any searches or looked for information about the Mortis gods / the Force Wielders?
Yeah. So you ask the archivist if anyone has done research on the Mortis gods or the Force Wielders?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's going to say, "Interesting. That is a pretty obscure topic. Not too many people look into that. And he's going to type for a moment at the computer. He's going to say, like, this will just take me a moment. You know how slow these computers can be. He's going to type for a minute, and then he's going to say,
7.
he's going to say, this is actually kind of interesting. No one has accessed records on the Force Wielders for quite some time, save for someone who's actually in the archive studying right now, a Jedi Knight named Sar Viel, who is sitting over there, and he'll gesture to one of the tables. It seems like she's read quite a bit about them over the past few days.
So so the archivist is gesturing to the Jedi with the droid. Is that the?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
The other person right here is a Republic officer, and then there is a Jedi with a droid right here. I don't know if you can see my pings. I hope so.
Yeah.
They don't appear on the stream, unfortunately, because it counts it as me doing it in like the GM view. It's like the same person. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Interesting.
Just out of curiosity, how widely known is that there's a holocron missing and the contents of that holocron?
Certainly, the Jedi are not going to disclose this information to anyone they can help. You suspect people hanging around the archives who can see like crime scene investigation tape and the Investigator Droid know that something has happened with the Holocron Vault. However, the Jedi would certainly not be ready to reveal that the holocron missing, like what information the holocron missing contained. So I would say, unless someone overheard, they would not know. Though it is not impossible that people have overheard. I mean, you yourselves have just had conversations loudly about not necessarily loudly, but in a regular volume with no effort to conceal it, about the Force Wielders and the holocron being missing, right? So people in this library might well know. Which is to say, it's not a matter of like top-level security or anything, but the Jedi also aren't like out there yelling on the street corners about it.
Question. About the list I'm reading through, it's just a list of all the holocrons, right?
So what the archivist gave you, I think what Kalo was asking for, as long as I understood, was a list of people who had accessed the like holocron,
Right.
Like the information on which holocron was where.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing jumps out at you. Though if you have like a specific name that you're looking for or something, I can tell you whether or not it's there, or like if you're like, oh, have any Jedi Council members looked, or have any like of this group looked, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So I can't really cross-reference, like, I see this holocron is indeed there, and I can't find, like, a missing space, like a missing piece that I would assume would be the missing holocron. So I can't really cross-reference that with this list.
No, so the list is just a list of people who have looked at the catalog. It doesn't actually contain any information about what holocrons are there or aren't there. You would know that the holocrons never leave they leave the vault while someone is studying them, but they're not like allowed out of the archives. Someone can take a holocron out, study it, and then replace it. They're not like checked out.
Does it keep track of time? Like when, like, they're like an order of time and when the last person took it?
So there's no record of when the holocrons are checked out. There's only a holocron or there's a record that you have of who has looked at where the holocrons are, and those are time stamped, so you can tell. You know, if you want to ask me who's looked at the like how many times has this list been accessed on the day of the theft or since the theft, I can give you an approximation of that.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Like, looking for like people that are close to the time of theft. Just to see if I can glean a suspect from that list.
Yeah. So
or maybe they've seen someone around that time. So. Yeah.
The Holocron directory is not actually consulted that frequently, especially in a time of war when very few Jedi are coming down to the archives. So in the few days leading up to the theft, no one accessed the list. And in the few days since, there's a spike in activity of accessing the catalog of holocrons, and you see places that the archivists, both this one and the other one who is on duty sometimes, have accessed the catalog several times, starting in the morning when they discovered the holocron missing. You can see that almost every member of the Jedi Council has accessed the catalog of holocrons since it went missing, some of them multiple times. You can see that, and then there's a point at which, probably starting with today, there is a list of wild numbers of masters that have consulted the log. You suspect that this is a gossipy, instinct of it's gotten around that a holocron is missing, and everyone is curious which holocron is missing, and several people have come down and looked at the holocron vault and looked up what the subject matter of the missing holocron was for their own curiosity. There are no names amongst that jump out to you, but again, you can query for anything specific if you want.
I just find it interesting that we don't have a list of all the holocrons and can't tell the title of which one was missing. I call over Carlo and say, do you want to take a look?
Okay.
Give it a shot. I should hand it to him.
So you could look up a list of all of the holocrons that should be there. And you could look for the one that's missing using your own Jedi Master login, if you wanted.
Would that be on the same device I just gave Carlo?
Sure. Or you could do it from a computer in the library as well.
Oh yeah, I'll do that from the computer. Why not?
Okay, sure. Out of curiosity, not terribly important, but just in case you make a new friend, there are computers here and here that are the empty chairs. Which one would you like to go to?
Ooh, let's go to the one in front of the Republic officer.
Sure. He's going to glance over the computer at you and sort of look skeptically, but he probably won't initiate a conversation unless you do, as you sit down across from him.
Yeah, prefer that. I start clacking away on the computer and signing.
All right. So you see the list of the holocrons. It displays literally every holocron that is in the vault, and you see that there's only one that contains information about the Force Wielders. So you know that must be the missing one. Though you can't cross-reference that with your view of the vault because you couldn't find out if that was the one missing. But if you want to go back to the vault and go to the location that you can consult, you could assume that as long as everything is above board, what everyone has told you is true, that location is probably the holocron that's missing. Which means now, if you want to find the missing holocron, you can go to that spot without an investigate check because you'll know where it is.
Right. Yeah. So I'll just stay at the computer for a moment, just double checking everything, just to give everyone a chance.
Sure.
So Callow is just looking through search history, and he's curious as to what the Republic officer is looking at, see if he's accessing logs recently, see what he's looking at.
Sure. Sorry, can you say again what exactly I spaced out for 30 seconds there.
I guess he's going to look at the most recent searches, I guess, and see what people currently in here are looking at, what the last 5 search results were.
So you want to know what other people are looking up?
Yeah.
In just the database of holodisks, or specifically with the holocrons?
With the holocrons, I guess.
So the way the Holocron directory works, you don't really have to look things up. There's no log of if someone has like searched for something. They're just cataloged. They're only, I don't know, I can probably count them quickly. They're only something like, they're like 100 holocrons or so. You can scroll through like the topics that they contain pretty quickly.
Okay. Not quite true.
Can we see what like specific people have been looking up at the archives terminal?
So you mean like, for instance, if you wanted to query what Nier was looking up on the terminal right now, could you do that?
Yeah.
The Archivist could. You can't do it yourself because that requires some administrator access, but the Archivist presumably would be willing to assist you with that endeavor if you had queries about. I mean, they revealed to, who was it? To Nier that Sarviel had been looking up. No, Callow maybe. Someone asked about who had been looking. I mean, you actually, I think, right? About who had been looking.
Can
up
I look
information.
specific? Can I ask like what specifically Sarviel has been looking at?
Sure.
Over the past
definitely.
several, like around the time the Holocron was stolen, let's say.
Yeah. So you asked the Archivist that, and the Archivist says, most of what she's been reading for the past 2 weeks that she's been at the temple has been related to the Force Wielders. It's difficult to give you a bite-sized chunk of what she has read, but essentially, if we have a holodisc in this library about the Force Wielders, she has read it. There's been some other various like checkouts, some interest in the history of the Jedi Council, a couple things about the like history of the war with the Sith and how it started. Also, curiously, a couple records about the planet Dathomir, but mostly it's been dominated by research about the Force Wielders.
Cal is going to ask the Archivist maybe a red tangent. Is it possible to put a holocron back in the wrong space?
It is possible to place a holocron back in the wrong location. We haven't had the chance to catalog all of the hundreds of holocrons that are contained in the vault, or all of the 100, whatever it is. Should be like a couple hundred, I think. However, if that were the case, what you would be suggesting is that the holocron we believe is missing is not the holocron that's missing.
Yes.
We can conduct a review of the holocrons that are in the vault between me and the other archivist. We're happy to assist you, though an investigation of that sort would take several days, even with both of us working full-time.
Okay.
The other takeaway from today is being a Jedi archivist isn't good work.
No. Are there like titles on the holocrons? Like, will it be obvious if someone moves it in the wrong space, or is it just...
The holocrons are semi-mystical devices. They do not contain any sort of writing on the external surface, no.
Can I, as a Jedi, try to sense that holocron?
The contents of a holocron are accessed with use of the Force. However, it's not simply by sensing what's in the holocron. In fact, you have to take the holocron out and apply a certain measure of meditation to get the holocron to open, which is why it would take us several days to catalog all of the holocrons that are currently contained within the vault.
Can I look up a little bit and glance at the Republic officer across from me and sort of gesture to get their attention, sort of like wave my hand a little bit to get their attention. Like very awkwardly.
Yeah,
Hey.
definitely.
Is it, that person's clearly not Jedi, right?
Yeah, he's wearing a Republic military uniform. You feel confident he's not a Jedi.
It's out of character. It's like normal to see non-Jedi in the archives.
It's a little peculiar.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious, and it's just like, I don't see many Republican officers here. Can I ask what you're doing?
Yes, greetings. Well, most Republic officers would not be interested in this kind of material, but I am the official liaison officer from the Republic military to the Jedi High Council, and so it is a very special case, very hush-hush, important information that I'm here to do some reconnaissance to ensure the proper joint operations between the Jedi and the Republic military. And then, I transfer all the relevant intelligence between the two organizations.
Got you. Are you looking for anything in particular?
Well, I've been reading up on the history of the Republic Senate's relationship to the High Jedi Council, but thrilling as that is at this moment, I'm a lot less interested in that. As I am about, what's going on here. It seems like the Jedi are doing something, and you're engaging with me, a Republic officer. So I must ask the nature of what you're questioning about.
We're just tasked with some investigation. I kind of put my wall up a little subtly and just lean back and just say that we're in the middle of an investigation tasked by the council. I'm sure information will come out as they are investigated.
Well, you understand that as the official liaison between the Republic and the Jedi, it is of the utmost importance that I stay informed, as this might be considered a sort of an investigation of a nature that might be of interest to both the Republic and the Jedi.
Right. I'm not sure I have the proper clearance to share this type of information, so I would talk to the council to make sure that, our crosswires can be, so we can actually share this kind of information. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I sort of abruptly stand up and just walk away with the information that I was looking at about the Holocron. They walk towards the archives, the central room, and try to do that cross-reference that I was hoping to do to find that missing piece.
Yeah, as you get up, the officer's just gonna watch you a little bit. You can tell he's thinking.
I just sort of think in my head, don't be suspicious. Just walk over.
All right. I see an opportunity here to maybe take a brief 10-minute break. Then we can resume our investigation into the archives. So we'll hop back on here maybe 4:48, if that's okay. Are people good with a break right now? Is that good?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Sounds
Beautiful. So, hey, stream, thanks for coming. We'll be back in 10 minutes. So we're going to be here back at 4:48. Having a pleasure hanging out with you. See you in a minute. All right, and we're back. I did the classic streamer echo mistake, so please don't hate me. All right, we return. Nir has just had a delightful conversation with a very friendly Republic officer. I don't even know that you got his name, though. But otherwise, yeah. So we're returning here, back in the archives again.
Okay.
And what are we doing, party?
I was going to try to cross-reference that missing holocron with the list that I found
All right.
and see if I can actually. Mhm.
Oh, like you're going to see if you can find the missing holocron, like the spot where it was.
Yeah, unless I misunderstood, I had a list of the Holocron titles, and I was gonna see if I can like walk around and like identify like the missing area and sort of cross-reference it.
Yeah. Exactly. So, the holocron references. I hope you can see my ping. The Mortis holocron is referenced right here, down here in the vault. Let me actually move the stream up so that it's visible. So yeah, and when you go there, it is in fact the Mortis. The location of the holocron about the Force Wielders is definitely the holocron location that's missing, which is what you would have suspected.
Okay. So we have the confirmation that is indeed that one about the Force Wielders. Just good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're also free, if you would like, while you're there, to roll an investigate check and sort of look at the place where the holocron was taken from. But
Yes,
that's
please.
entirely up to you. Yeah, sure.
Didn't roll great perception. Let's see. I rolled another 1 on the wild dice and 4, so it's 5 total.
That holocron's missing.
Definitely missing, and I'm no longer gonna try. I'm feeling a little bit affronted and say that this is just why I'm not an investigator. I'm more of I'm a fighter. It's just not my realm. I just sort of turn about and walk away.
You're starting to wonder, when a Lori left, they said that they would leave the investigation in your more than capable hands. You're wondering if that was sarcastic or no, okay.
I'm having a feeling that it's a little bit more sarcastic.
No, I will say, as far as you could tell from Lori's demeanor, they meant it quite genuinely. They trusted you with the investigation. But an investigation is not just putting spyglasses on things. It's coordinating the operation and deducing things, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
just because you can't figure something out from looking at the missing holocron doesn't mean you're leading a bad investigation.
Just perhaps I'm looking at the wrong place. I sort of like walk back and head close to the party and sort of allay what we all kind of knew but confirmed. Yeah.
Right?
So along with the holocron, there are holodiscs about the Force Wielders, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Holodiscs are usually like unrestricted, less important information, or less restricted. They are restricted to people who can access the Jedi Temple, of course. It's not a public library, but not restricted to people of a particular rank. And then holocrons usually contain very detailed and sometimes top secret information. Holocrons also have an entirely different interface of interaction. Reading a holodisc is like reading a book or watching a movie, depending on the holodisc. A holocron usually has an image of a Jedi Master who speaks to the user of the holocron.
Okay. So Callow is curious about the topic at hand and just asks if he can find a holodisc that explains the Force Wielders like he was 5.
Are you asking the Archivist this?
Yeah. Just where would I find a disc that will give me a primer on what these people are?
So Kim says, "I'm glad that you're turning to our library for answers. Often in these days of war, Jedi are not wise enough to realize that knowledge is often the best weapon. He has a particular holodisk that he references for basic information on the Force Wielders myth, and he points you to a particular shelf. If you want a rundown on what's on that holodisk, I'm going to say that you're going to be occupied for a few minutes, so your party will be acting without you for a couple minutes, and then also you'll roll me a knowledge check just to see how much of it you can understand.
Okay.
I'd like to go with Kahlo to check that out as well, but I don't read especially quickly, so maybe he can summarize.
Sure.
Okay. So can I go to the shelf and get it?
Yeah,
so
sure.
So the archivist points me to the shelf
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
The
right?
archivist will help you find it. They're a responsible librarian. He's a
Are they?
Insofar as you can tell, yes.
Okay. All right, then. Kahlo will try to understand it. Is it possible I can concentrate beforehand?
Yeah, absolutely. I forget what that does, so you'll just have to remind me, but if you'll be kind enough to remind me, I imagine you can do it, yes.
Okay. Kahlo knows he's not very academically good at things, so he wants to relax his brain and be at peace, so he can just focus on understanding the content of this. It's a control 4 skill. It's easy.
Sure.
So I will roll. I don't know what easy is.
What was that? Oh, easy is 1 to 5, so I'll set the difficulty here at 3, very middle of the... Or is easy or
Okay.
very easy? Sorry.
It's easy.
Okay, we'll say 8 then. That's middle of easy.
Okay. Let's see what did I do.
Alright.
Ooh.
Nothing on the wild die, so that's a 5. You don't beat the difficulty, so you will not manage to cast the power. Still, there's no disadvantage.
Yes.
You just don't get the advantage of the power. I
He gets
will
frustrated.
ask
He's
you...
just like, I hate reading. Go ahead.
I will ask whenever you grab the holodisk that you just tell me where you're planning to sit to review it. You will need to go to one of the terminals here. So.
Okay.
Seeing Kahlo focus, T-Bone is also going to sort of close his eyes for a minute, thinking this is some custom that he's being disrespectful if he doesn't do this before reading something.
I love it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, so Kahlo, not knowing anything about the other person, will just go to the computer desk closest to where the disk is found. Which shelf is it found at?
So it references, the archivist references a shelf up here.
Okay.
So
yeah, he's gonna sit across from the Republic officer then. Yeah.
Okay. The Republic officer is clearly very curious about you, and AMD can tell me whether or not he decides to assert his curiosity or let it simmer.
So the commanding officer is not going to announce himself, but if there's a terminal in front of his face, you can see him peeking his eyes very obviously across the other side of it. So he's making it very well known that he's watching you. Whether or not you want to engage in a discussion with him is a different story.
Okay,
T-Bone
so
is gonna salute.
Greetings. Great to see another soldier. I like the cut of your jib, kid.
Thank you, sir.
So Kahlo is gonna just look at him and ask, "Do I also look like a raccoon to you?"
A what?
A raccoon. It's a human animal of some sort. That is like an Ewok, apparently.
Look, I know nothing of your force powers, kiddo. I don't know what spell you're trying to put on me. I haven't read that book yet. So settle down before I call someone to assist me.
Sorry, I'm
Sir,
just
if
gonna
you don't mind, permission to speak?
Permission granted.
A raccoon is like it's sort of like a cat, but scarier and fuzzy, and they like to eat. Sir.
Got it. I don't understand how this is relevant to the very important job I'm doing of liaising between the Republic and the Jedi.
Understood, sir.
I'm glad you understand.
Callow is gonna start to read about Mortis.
Sure.
So it just like pops up as text, right? And so he sees that T-Bone's trying to read it too. I don't know who's gonna read faster, but when he's done with the page, he's gonna ask if T-Bone's done before he flips through the next one.
No, I'm not done. I think you might need to just let me know what happens at the end. If there's any pictures or diagrams or blueprints, I got that covered, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. So can you give me a knowledge check, Kahlo?
Okay.
Notably, there is one image in the book, I'll just say before we deal with the results of the knowledge check, for T-Bone's sake. There is a picture of sort of an older, bearded man holding his hand up. It looks like very religious. Imagine like saintly portraits with like large glowing halos around the heads. And on one side of him is a much younger, bald man with sort of a very pale skin. And on the other side is like a very beautiful woman with curly greenish hair. And he's sort of elevated between the two of them. So that's the picture that you're able to peep over Kahlo's shoulder while he's flipping through the book. With a 5, I'll say there's...
He got... the Wild Eyes won.
Oof. This is not the day for y'all's dice, let me tell you.
Callow's still frustrated about being insinuated to be an Ewok that likes to...
Hey, no, like Master, like Padawan, huh?
It's an off day for all the Jedi except for Sebastian, I think. But no, so you're able to glean some information. I'm going to say what happens is you have a very, very like tertiary understanding of what the Mortis gods are. However, you are totally transfixed by the perhaps delusional, perhaps true, I have no intention of revealing here, notion that the things that you have read are fact. That this was biography, not a story written about a myth. So you are like going to be totally convinced that all of this is absolutely true, not that it may be true, it may not be. And what's written in the book is essentially that the Force Wielders are a mysterious family of beings that live on a planet that can't be accessed in regular time and space. And that they hold in their hands the balance between the light side and the dark side of the Force. And essentially everything that happens in the galaxy happens as part of a destiny of the microcosm of their world, Mortis. And that's about all you can glean. With a higher roll, you might have gotten more information. But with that roll, that's what you're able to pick up from that holodisc.
Okay, so Callow turns to T-Bone and says, apparently there's a council of Force Wielders that live on a planet that we can't access at all, except for some reason, sometimes it is, and they control the whole universe.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, like, they have, like, You ever done one of those like drone pilot things where you like connect the controller thing to another, maybe a little hovercraft and you can like drive it from far away like that?
I think so. All
right, okay. Wow, that sounds like a cool job.
Yeah, I think I understand why people are trying to find them.
Yeah, okay. And so we can't get there because what? There's like a, I don't know, asteroids in the way?
I don't know. It seems like they probably can control whether we can get there or not.
Oh, I guess
And
that
they
makes
just-
sense if they have the like, yeah, the controller for the whole universe. Yeah, there's probably a whole toggle for that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
So the thing that got stolen is more information about these people. Do you think maybe it has how to find them, even though they won't let us?
I think so. It's gotta be top secret information of some sort. Maybe there's another controller or something.
Whoa. Wait, so what's a holocron?
It's like a holodisc, but you have to use the Force to read it, but someone talks to you while you try to read it.
Okay. So it's like an encrypted message, but magical. Great.
I don't know what the word encrypted means, but sure.
It's not similar to raccoons.
I assume unless you two are being exceptionally stealthy, you've now sufficiently weirded out the commanding officer who was like staring at you this whole time.
All right. Thanks for the summary. I appreciate it.
All right, so out of curiosity, this is going to take Kahlo and T-Bone some amount of time. What are the rest of you doing?
I guess maybe I should try to talk to the Republic officer because I'm a higher rank. They may actually be more willing.
Sure, feel free to approach him.
Okay.
He's sort of looking on at Kahlo and T-Bone, reading and discussing. Quizzically, I imagine.
Officer, I apologize for my colleagues, but is there any information that you could give me on that you probably know, or maybe it's more secretive of the information of what's going on with the holocrons?
Yes, thank you for taking ownership of these individuals. Glad to see someone around here with some real authority and sense of leadership, as well as clear logic. I don't know what ancient aliens they're discussing over there, but it does not suit the Republic to be making such light of these situations. I'm Commander Kane Amata. But before I answer your question, very unusual to find the Republic in the Jedi archives. What are you doing here?
My job is to assist the Jedi with this investigation. It's great to meet you, Commander. I'm a captain myself, and it is very peculiar. They talk about gods and people controlling the universe. It sounds like a bunch of hokum and nonsense to me, but well, I'm here anyway.
And you and the Jedi are working together?
Yes.
So why has no one informed me that we had an active collaborative mission underway?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they left you out of the loop. But as a spec ops officer myself, I know that I'm often left out of the loop.
Well, I appreciate the commiseration here. It's these Jedi folks have a lot of nerve coming down here and asking me questions when they haven't gone through proper channels to get clearance for this mission. Clearly, they should have gone through me first, is the official liaison between these two parties. So I'm just a bit baffled as to what's going on here and why I'm not involved.
I understand your frustration with all of this. I wish I could give you more help, but as you know, I can't give any divulge the information that they would have given me as well.
Well, as the commanding officer for this liaison, I assume you would divulge all of the information to me.
As I am a Spec Ops officer, I'm in a different branch, which I have to report to my commander.
All right, and who's your commander? I'll have to file a serious complaint with them.
Okay, so then can I take aside the commander? Am I allowed to, or like so I can separate away from them? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
If the commander is willing to go with you, certainly.
Okay. So can I like usher him to like one of the hallway corridors with the library?
I'm assuming you're just trying to get to a space where it's like a little bit less in public eye, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Where they're not near the Jedi. Yeah.
He'd be willing to follow that.
Okay. So I go over here. Can he be moved, or is he? Okay, thank you. So I take him aside and I tell him that there's some kind of threat to the Republic that is caused by that's a threat of a holocron, as you can tell. I do not know much more than that because I'm not privy to that information as I'm not a Jedi. But I would appreciate any help you could give in this assistance because, as you know, the Sith Empire is winning the war and we do not have many leads on this.
I appreciate you confiding in me. I'm greatly disappointed that our Jedi allies have left both of us out of the loop then. This is a clear violation of the role that I was given. Let me know what it is I can do to assist you in this matter.
You understand the concept of like the theft that took place, the holocron?
Yeah, I know one of their magic spell books got thefted by one of those magic spell wielders, but I don't fancy the dark arts myself, so.
Yeah, it sounds like a bunch of crazy religions.
Basically, religious extremism, which I'm much more interested in logic and commanding fleets and logically commanding fleets.
I'm very curious. Do you know if anyone has come in here recently that has been out of the ordinary that's not a Republic officer like yourself?
Well, of course, any Jedi can use this if they're affiliated with the Temple. I've attempted to make myself known to all of them, but for some reason, no one wants to talk to me. The Jedi sits over there at that other table as well. I see her frequently, but she's not one for conversation. It seems like none of the Jedi are really one for conversation. I seem to think they question my legitimacy and therefore the legitimacy of the Republic Alliance.
Were you there on the night of the theft? Was there many people present around the area?
Well, I spend most of my time down here these days. You can never read too much about the job you're doing. It's not glorious work, but it's important. However, I can't say I noticed anything out of the ordinary that evening particularly. Although what's out of the ordinary is how the Jedi somehow managed to coordinate an operation with your captain without even informing me.
Yes, of course, that is quite ridiculous. That is an interesting idea, though. The Jedi over there, they've been there for some time, haven't they?
Yes, I assume it's just one of those nerdy types. You know, they got some of the sword wielders, they get some of the book readers, they get some of the big talkers. I don't fancy any of that kind of talk. I'm here about commanding logically.
Of course, and that is a very important job that you have. I will leave you to your work, but I would also ignore the two that are talking about raccoons. That is a weird subject that I hope would be brought up.
All well and fine. Good to know we have a clear leader in charge of this operation. But I would warn you to keep your people in check and stop dribbling about things that they shouldn't when we are on some very important business and I'm actively liaising.
Of course.
Great. So the commander's probably going to go sit back at his terminal.
Yep.
I think that's going to be my favorite conversation of the night. I'm not going to lie. Okay. So, let's see, who we have? Nier and Sebastian, what are y'all doing?
I'm gonna go talk to Sarvio.
Sure.
Hi, excuse me. Is your name Sarviel?
Indeed, I'm Jedi Knight Sarviel. And who might you be?
My name's Sebastian. See, I was put on an assignment by the Jedi Council about the Mortis gods, and I've heard tell you're the expert when it comes to them.
Oh, interesting. I'm not sure how you come to think I'm an expert. I'm merely on a short sabbatical away from the war at the temple, and so I've just been brushing up on some basic history as it relates to the Sith.
I'm not gonna lie, but I've kind of asked the Archivist about it, and he says you're the expert when it comes to these matters. You
It
know
seems
everything there is to
funny.
know.
Well, I would imagine the Archivist knows everything there is to know, and not just a humble person on sabbatical.
You would think that, wouldn't you? But the Archivist seems to not really know about. Their job seems to be mostly about where to find things, but not so much what's actually contained in these things.
Seems they might be underqualified for the position then.
Possibly, yeah.
I think if you're, so are you just asking general lines of question, or are you going to, I don't know, try and like manipulate the conversation in any way with the perception skill?
I'm gonna ask like. So I've heard like the Mortis gods like have their own realm that it's like impossible to get to except for certain ways. Do you happen to know what those ways would be? Or have you read anything about what they would be?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you think my expertise is. I've merely been reading about the history of the Sith. Specifically, what I've been reading is the history of the structure of the leadership of the Sith, from the Emperor of old, as well as the Dark Council and the modern disjointed warlords. The Sith have changed much over time, and so my areas of expertise do not seem to be aligned with the questions you're asking.
Are you sure? I could have sworn the Archivist said you did a lot of research with the Mortis gods.
What a funny thing to say.
Apparently so. Well, thank you for your time.
I believe there's like there's an insight equivalent skill, right? I forget what it's called. My mind is blanking.
There's a lot under perception. There's search, bargain. I don't know if any of that would be what you're looking for.
Oh yeah. Let's just Sebastian, could you roll me a flat perception?
Sure.
I have a difficulty number set in my head, so.
7.
Anything on the wild die?
A 3.
Okay. So with a 7, you find the behavior of this Jedi Knight to be extremely suspicious. If that was not already discernible from the fact that the narrative about what they've been reading has strongly conflicted with what the Archivist told you. You'll also notice that they Kellyanne Conwayed you with that role, even if you don't necessarily detect any sort of agenda. You'll notice that essentially they took your question and did not answer it at all and just talked about something else instead.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to Nier and tell them how suspicious Sar is. She's definitely hiding something.
You think so?
Yep, definitely.
Should we just keep an eye on them, or does that warrant further line of query?
I think it's worth keeping an eye on her.
All right. Will do.
After I leave, Sar, does she stay at the computer she's at, or does she like get up?
Yeah, she's going to stay there. She very clearly has a number of like things out on her desk, so it looks like she's been working there for a bit.
Okay.
Can you roll me? Can you both roll me a perception as you're having this conversation, Nier and Sebastian?
Perception.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I assume you both sort of glance over at Sar.
I got an 8.
I rolled yet another one on the wild die. So I rolled a 3.
All right, Nier, you don't notice anything. Sebastian, you can't quite tell what it is, but her demeanor seems different after that conversation than it did before.
From mine. From like
What you notice Nier is nothing with a 3 and a critical
Right.
failure.
Right.
You glance at Sar and you're like, she's a Jedi.
Yep.
It's a Jedi Knight if I ever saw one.
I'm not sure if you can tell, but her demeanor definitely seems different than it was before I talked to her.
Hmm.
All right. We'll open the floor back up to anyone. I think the book is probably done being read. Flash has had his conversation with Amada. Nier and Sebastian have talked. Sebastian's talked to Sar, so we're all sort of back in the same time now. It may be prudent, if you feel like you don't know what to do, it might be prudent to get the characters grouped up someplace and just discuss what you know. I know you all as players know what's going on, but you haven't as characters necessarily caught up, and it might be worth just talking about the situation a little bit.
Right.
So I'm gonna go up to Nur and ask, do you guys have a mess hall? It's about time for lunch.
What was that?
Do you have a mess hall? It's about time for lunch.
Ooh. I mean, I can always eat. Is the mess hall close to the archives, or do I know?
Yeah, so the mess hall is close to the archives, but you are gripped with the sense that this investigation is pretty urgent. So it's up to you whether you think you would
time for lunch.
dip out
It's
for
middle
a
of
meal.
the afternoon.
But yeah.
Okay, so I come up behind and I tell both of them, you realize there's food on the ship, right?
I guess we can gather on the ship instead. It seems more private.
Yeah, I like the food on the ship.
We could go in like the holocron room or something.
True. Does anyone else want to go in there?
It will take you a considerable amount of time to get to the ship, I will say. It's in orbit, and you'll have to shuttle up to it.
Okay.
So I guess we can just sort of gather like close to the archives, just away,
Mhm.
just lower our voices and just.
I will say, if everyone can just roll me a perception check, I have something
Sure.
that you can notice.
Oh, these are terrible rolls.
I got a 9.
Okay,
9 as well.
cool.
Well,
I got a
Ooh.
You can
On my
roll
wall.
another 6 then, Casey, or you can roll the wild die again, and
Okay,
add it in.
that's a 1.
Okay, that's fine. There's no penalty for rolling a 1 after you've gotten a critical hit. It's all good. You still just add it to the total. So, I will say all of you except for Flash have noticed this, but T-Bone
Wait,
on this issue.
If I roll a 1, is it a critical too, or is it?
On the
one?
first die, yeah. So that is a critical failure. But
Oh wow.
in this case, you'll just fail anyway. So everyone except for Flash notices Sarviel is snacking at her desk. And T-Bone is acutely aware of this fact. T-Bone has smelled it across the room. It smells delicious. So if y'all are hungry and that's the main issue, you may see if she's willing to share. Or you may choose to talk somewhere privately or do one and then the other. Whatever you're interested in. But that would be the most expedient route to a little bit of food.
I'm gonna go over there and offer her some jerky from my pocket. It's a little warm.
This is not
I
my
think
first
that-
experience in a tabletop RPG with pocket jerky. I just want to say. I wish that it were, but somehow this has come up repeatedly.
That's ridiculous. But I'm gonna say, hi, that looks really good and smells really good. I have some jerky. Do you want to trade a little bit for whatever you're eating? The jerky is really good. It's made by my buddy. His name is Guy. He works on my ship.
Sarviel is gonna look at you a little incredulous and a little like, why is this person talking to me and why is it about beef jerky? She will push her bowl of stew towards you a little and like accept the small piece, but she is not going to eat it.
Awesome, thanks. And I'm gonna eat a little bit of stew and then be like, all right, enjoy your snack. It's good. And then go back to the
right.
Can you give me a perception roll while you're there, T-Bone?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got another wild 6. But that's a 10 total. I'll roll again. 14.
Okay. You know, I'm going to guess that T-Bone doesn't find himself particularly adept with people. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you just get a sense, no matter how adept with people you are, you notice that Sarviel is very agitated. It doesn't seem to relate to the food transaction that you just took place in. And you distinctly remember she was not agitated when you walked in the library. So that's something that your mind like notes. You're like, what's her deal?
I'm gonna go over back to the group and say, yo, Flash, that person's mad. And I'm very charming, so it wasn't me.
It's really peculiar. The commander observed that she's been sitting there for some time, and she's not really talkative.
I think you might be muted, Kara.
Indeed, I was. I said, then we should perhaps talk to her and see if she's talkative then.
She was also definitely lying about what she was researching.
Maybe you should talk
Maybe
to
if
her
I give her more beef jerky, she'll want to hang out.
I don't think she wants the jerky.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
But I think Nier might have a better standing with talking. So.
Okay. Great. Totally fine. I guess I would feel... I don't think that I should be doing this alone. I think one person wouldn't be... I don't want to say intimidating, but kind of intimidating. So I feel like I need at least another person with me on this.
All right. I'll go with you.
Yeah. I think you're the person for the job. And I guess we can walk over to them. Uh-huh.
Gallo's gonna follow along and just go sit on the computer on the other side, and just pretend to be studying.
Yeah, so I think Sar is going to notice that there are suddenly 3 people around her. Not like you guys are trying to sneak, but she's like looking at you. She is no longer engrossed in her research.
Is she like writing into a notebook or something?
Reading.
And a
Oh,
stew.
she's reading. Okay. And the
Can we-
stew. All right.
Can we see what she's reading?
So,
You can roll me a perception.
What the hell?
We have bad luck again.
Did I try to roll?
You might as well, because I rolled another one on my wild dice. This is my third dice to try to switch it up.
Ooh, I got a
What
10.
did you get on the other die?
Total would be 7.
Okay.
I got a 10.
So in some cases, critical failures are common in D6, so sometimes they don't actually matter if you get a high enough total. And that is the case here. So you do see what she's reading. That's not a difficult task. It had a very low difficulty threshold. Notably, despite her conversation with Sebastian, she is actively reading holodiscs about the Force Wielders, and in fact seems to have several of them laid out. It seems like actually to you an odd stroke of luck that she wasn't reading the exact holodisc that Kahlo was trying to read. In fact, there is another mural of T-Bone is not here, so we're not going to be able to relate it to the same thing. But there's a similar mural to what I described before, though none of you would know that it was similar to what was in the book. But for the sake of not describing it twice, a very similar mural of the Force Wielders. They're on the screen in broad daylight.
So it's similar subject as to the missing one. How do I phrase this question? Interesting book you got there.
Yes, it is.
What made you take that one out in particular?
Oh, nothing really. Actually, I think it might have been a mistake. I'm researching the Sith and some of their history. Did you know that the Emperor once prolonged his life by sacrificing small animals? Fun fact. It's actually it's in one of the volumes here, and she's going to rearrange
Ramble.
what's on her table and start hiding the books about the Mortis guns in a not very suave way.
Okay, so I cross my arms and start glaring at her.
So I will also say, I want to just have a quick meta note here for you, because it may come up at some point during this investigation. As a temple guard as a former temple guard, and you know that the mandate of this investigation gives you permission to arrest people. So if that's something you decide you want to do, you are able to do it. Also, Flash, as a captain of the Republic military who's assigned to this operation, you also know that you would be allowed to detain someone. So I just want to make sure that you have that in your retinue of reactions in case you choose to use them.
So Kahlo hears small animal and asks, "Did the Emperor sacrifice raccoons?"
I don't know if that's in this book. I'm not quite sure I know what that animal is. You can feel free to read the book instead. She's going to hand you the book.
Okay. He pops it in, sees, search for a mention of raccoons, and kind of forgetting if he's actually doing something right now.
Right. Well, is there anything else I can help you with? I'm very busy trying to enjoy the academic opportunities of this sabbatical, which I do not get playing guard duty.
Oh.
You seem to like the Force Wielders a lot.
Not particularly, and I'm just interested in learning more about our common enemy, so that I might be better prepared to fight them. You know, the Sith are tricky folks, as they say.
Can you roll me a perception, Flash?
Sure. I will see how that goes. Oh.
Alright, cool. Nothing on the wild dice, a 10. She's definitely lying. You've never felt more certain that someone is lying in your entire life as a captain.
All right, so why don't you tell us why you're really interested? Otherwise, we may have to take you aside for a moment.
Yeah, so is that just asking her? Or is that an active attempt to, like,
So I'm trying to, like,
persuade her?
yeah, I guess it would be a bit of persuading because it's like charm, but also intimidating. So I'm trying to like waver so I don't break into the intimidation, so she doesn't talk at all.
Yeah, we can consider that persuasion or charm.
Sure.
If you want to roll for that, feel free.
Okay.
I do
Where
think
would
you
that-
have two options. I think there's an intimidation skill. So if you're trying to scare her, I believe that's under strength, right? And then there's a persuasion skill. So if you're trying to be charming, that's under perception. So you might choose based on who your character is, which one you think might be more successful and attempt to do that.
Okay, so
Is there
charm-
is there a way to support that? If you choose intimidation, is there a way I can support that since we're all sort of crowding around and I can
or
sort
like
of
stack it, kind of like.
Yeah, what I will say, there is a clear help process in D6, but it's a little bit convoluted and I don't like to use it. If you're like interested in actively helping, then you like give me a convincing narrative of how you do that. So tell me what you would do to participate in the intimidation. I will reference all of your dice scores together and assign a value that Flash can roll. Like I'll give him an additional die or two to roll on the roll because of your help.
Okay. So could I, like, when I clock that on the table, I just sort of like gather myself up and call like on my experience at the Temple Guard, where I'm like stoic and still as a stone and like very like you think I grew like 5 inches taller than I actually am, but it's really about the force of like staring them down and just not moving.
Sure. And out of curiosity, what's your strength total?
Strength?
Yeah.
Oh, strength. 3D.
Okay, cool. For that help, I will give Flash an additional die. So when he rolls his intimidation, he can have an extra die on it. That represents your help in sort of bulking up and leering over Sar as he attempts to intimidate her.
Would I do the roll for strength and then do a /D6 roll for the other roll?
That would be fine.
So got an 8. Oh, how you do it again? Is it /D?
It will be
What's the
/R D6, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jonathan.
3. So it'd be 11.
All right, cool. I am going to have a roll to resist to that. All right. She's very intimidated, so this is a successful, like a very successful tactic.
This finally worked.
I would say at this point, probably what I will say to give direction to AMD about how the character might respond. The character is eminently aware that no matter what she does now, like she believes, whether this is true or not, that no matter what she does now, it will probably result in her arrest.
Look, I will comply if you lead me to my studies. I don't mean to cause any attention or ire from either party. Just let me know how I can help you.
Good response.
I'll defer to you, Nier, as you're the more expert on this.
Let me think a bit.
You can order an HCD and we can just go and pick it up.
So, okay, let me see if out of character, I just want to gather all the information I have at hand. So, She's a Jedi. She has like related information to the missing holocron or like the similar subject. What other information do we have?
She lied about researching it.
She was lying about researching it. Okay. Just want to make sure I have everything at hand before I actually. Okay, to start, what is causing you to lie? Why would you lie about what you research when we clearly see what we have on the table?
I think Sarvel's gonna probably sigh at this, and is going to change her tone of voice slightly. I should have known you nosy Jedi would piece it together eventually. And I probably would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling fools and your Kamasi Padawan too. You're tenacious at least, if not a bit clever. I know you suspect me, and I know you think that you probably stopped me in my tracks and you're about to win the day, but I fear you have not thwarted me. In fact, the holocron has already reached Korriban and is beyond any place you could hope to get to in time. Oh!
And then I unclick my holster.
Probably an appropriate response.
All right, we are definitely placing you under arrest. So anything you say you will do will be used against you. Please, stay there.
Yeah. So as you are preparing to arrest Sarviel, the ruse is up. She's gonna raise her hands over her face and sort of remove a magic spell that's allowed her to appear as a Jedi. She is also going to say something in Zabraki to the droid. So she changes her appearance, moving from sort of this human Jedi to, like Dathomiri makeup, like with a magic spell, basically, unlike any other Force sort of thing that you're familiar with.
Okay, Juan, this is really freaking cool.
It is.
Whoa.
That's real neat.
Oh, okay. What kind of magic hocus pocus is this?
Yeah, I think one of you guys
can
could probably roll knowledge if you're interested in knowing specifically what kind of hocus pocus it is.
I'll try that. Okay, that did not go well.
Yeah, I think an 8 would would let you know that this might be something especially some of the Jedi might be familiar with, known as a Night Sister. So they have a very specific type of force wielding that is like magic and like illusion work.
Yeah. Exactly. So, there we have it. The revelation. I'm going to have Flash roll dexterity for initiative. And Sarviel is going to roll it again. If that is her real name.
So if for this dexterity, would it be like a melee roll technically? Because you are trying to apprehend them?
No, in this case it's just for initiative, so you just roll dexterity. So we're not actually doing something where you try to apprehend her. We're going to enter combat, and then you can try to apprehend her in rounds if you want to.
For sure. All right, 13.
All right. Can I math? Oof. What's your dexterity score, Flash? Because you tied.
I'm a 40.
Ooh. I fear that our good friend the Night Sister gets to act first.
Oh boy.
So, first of all, I'm going to perfect. That's all on the token layer, so I guess AMD can manipulate it appropriately.
Has everyone else noticed yet, or is it just us?
Everyone in the library would have noticed, yes.
Okay.
However, Commander Amada notably is not armed.
Of course.
And the Archivist is a Jedi, though probably not as practiced as some of you, so it is difficult to imagine how much help they might be. But I will have them act after your turn. So Sar gets to decide who goes first. She's going to choose her own faction, which is going to start with her droid. She's going to let him act first. Actually, no, I'm supposed to act in order of initiative. So Sarviel will go first. She is going to take a couple of actions. So on the first go round, she is going to make a particular check. All right, I'm good. She is going to hop up on top of this archive shelf.
Oh boy.
And though she has ignited a lightsaber, she sort of looks around, realizes how many Jedi are in the room, thinks better of it, flicks it off, and pulls out a bow from her back, which she's going to be aiming down. And then it will be her droid who acts. So the droid is going to... let's see. Yeah, droid will manage it. Is going to... What? I suppose... needs to go around the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, makes it over to the window, where he's going to stop for this round. And then it will be your side's turn, starting with Flash. So Flash, you can act first. First question I get to ask is, how many actions are you taking this turn?
So a move and an attack would be 2 actions, right?
You can move up to half your move for free, so that doesn't count, which I believe is either 4 or 5 spaces, probably 5. Your move is probably 10 total, so you can probably move 5. And then you could attack, and that will be only 1 action. However, if you want to move more than 5 spaces, you will have to take a movement.
Okay. So I'm going to tell Nier that I'm going to go after the droid. So I move 1, 2, I guess 3, 4, 5. So I kind of like can sort of see them in the hallway, but not necessarily like right on top of them.
Sure. So if you want to shoot at the droid, you can do it from there for sure.
I bring out my stun pistol, which is probably a good use for this. Which has a range of, I guess, 3 to 10 is the short range. Is that within the realm, or would I have to go to like the 20?
3 to 10, I believe, is correct. I actually realized I had this on the wrong unit, so let me measure now. But yeah, definitely in the 3 to 10 range. In the middle of that range, so should be about a 7 to hit. There's no cover involved here. And yeah, so that will.
So I roll blaster.
Yep.
Luckily, I have 7D.
All right. So you hit that droid very squarely. You can roll for damage on it.
We got a 6 in the wild dice.
Goodness.
Oh.
Did he really get a 0?
Wait, how'd you get a 0?
How did I get a 0?
It says you're rolling 0d6.
Yeah. What's the damage code for the weapon? Do you happen to know?
Oh, that might be why. It might be having an issue with the damage code. Where was it?
If you know, we can just roll it. Otherwise, I can look it up real quick.
It's a 3D stun, as what they said, but I don't remember.
Oh, exactly. There's a slightly different thing for stun damage, so I'm trying to think what that is.
Okay. Because I thought it would be better for the droid, because you don't want to like destroy it.
Yeah. So we'll say the way that I'll run it this time, since I haven't remembered to look, is we'll just run it as the stun is non-lethal, even if you hit lethal damage. Otherwise, the damage will apply as normal. Okay. So you can roll 2d. Yeah.
So
2d6.
That's such. So /R 2d6. Okay.
Yeah.
8.
Perfect. Okay, so 8 damage. It's going to roll to resist. I'm trying to find out if it has any sort of armor. I don't believe so. It's a pretty simple, humble little protocol droid. So you will deal 7 damage to it. It will net 7. So the droid is wounded twice. It's in pretty bad shape.
It's like disabled at this point.
Hey, Fu.
It is not totally disabled. It can still act. But yeah, it's not doing well. Okay. So then it will be Nier's turn. How many actions would you like to take, Nier?
I would like to take 1. I'm going to move to the Night Sister. It takes 3 spots, but I can't. She's just on top of the shelves, right?
She's
So
on top of pretty high things, so if you want to melee her, I will say that you need to jump up there, which is a check of its own.
I can't jump from where I currently am, right? I would have to go around.
Right. However, you can get to, I think, just about the same spot by going to the right or left, and then you could hop up here with an action. However, if you want to hop and act in this turn, then you should declare 2 actions, and you should let me know. Then you'll have to roll the multi-action penalty. But if you just want to hop this turn, and then next turn attack, you can do that as well, with no penalty.
The multi-action penalty would take away 1 dice, right?
Yeah, 1 die from both checks. So you would roll it with a 1d disadvantage.
For my next turn.
For both actions this turn, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to risk it and take 2 actions by hopping up, and I get into battle mode feeling much more comfortable taking action.
Just a second. I'm going to have you make a jump check to make sure you can make it up there. You're going to
that's also pretty...
And that's going to be the first action, so you're going to take the 1 die penalty to that.
Oh, cool.
So I think jumping is under... Is it strength or dexterity? My mind is blanking. Just in case.
It is strength.
Okay, cool.
And so take away 1 for that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was for the next turn, not this turn. Okay.
No, it is for all of the actions in this turn. So, and you'll still do them one at a time, but you will still get to act this round before we go. So.
Okay. All right. Good. I rolled an 8.
Perfect. So you meet it. So you hop up there. That will end things for now, but you'll get to act again before the turn's over. So you'll still get to attack within this round. Okay.
Got it.
Cool. And then it will be Callow's turn. So how many actions are you taking, Callow?
I think I'm just going to do 1 and attack the droid to finish it off.
Okay.
Or fully fully, stop it from moving, not destroy it.
Sure. Though, if you're slicing at it with a lightsaber... I don't know how you're going to control whether or not you destroy it. We might need to discuss that. Like what your plan is, logistically. I'm not going to say that I'm disallowing it, but you're going to have to convince me that you are approaching with a method that will disable it.
Okay.
That might make the difficulty to hit more difficult or something like that. If you're like, I'm going to cut its leg or something like that, right? That's like a called shot. It's more difficult.
Okay, I will try to cut his legs off.
Okay,
or a
cool.
leg.
So, we'll be generous, and I will add 1 dice to the difficulty. So the difficulty of your lightsaber hit, I believe, is difficult. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the total is going to be 20 to hit. That you're going to roll on your lightsaber skill. All right. So you do manage to slice its leg. You will still go ahead and roll damage, and it will roll to resist to see whether it is incapacitated or not, but there's no risk now that you destroy the droid. All right, it's going to roll to resist that. 2, so it moves down a wound level. All right, the droid no longer can move.
I had a 1 on the wild die.
That doesn't matter in damage, I don't think.
Okay.
So,
okay.
At least it's not going to matter in damage today. If I find out that I'm an idiot and it should matter in damage, then we'll deal with that next time. But for now, we're not going to count it. All right.
Okay.
So that is Kalo's turn. The droid is disabled, and it will be T-Bone's turn now.
Cool. I would like to take 2 actions this round, please.
Sure. So you just roll with a 1 die penalty on both of them.
Cool. The first one is that I just want to run over to where the commander is, right here. Sure. Can I get there? I'm not really sure what my movement is.
So that will count as an action. That's one of the actions that you want to do, though, right? Yeah, you can do that without rolling, because this is pretty easy terrain. Then we'll stick in a pin in it for now, but you'll get to do what else you want to do before the turn ends, okay?
Sounds good. Can I also just squat down behind the desk?
Yeah,
as part
absolutely.
Of this one?
That won't be an action.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's totally good with me. All right,
Cool.
And then it will be Sebastian's turn. How many actions would you like to declare, Sebastian?
So I know it's an action to move my full speed, but can I use another action to move even further, or is it just the one speed?
You can use a single action to move double your move speed. However, you have to roll for that, and if you fail, you will come up short on the movement. So that's a running check, which I believe is under strength, though that I could also check because I'm bad at keeping those things in my head. It might be under dexterity, actually. Nope, it is, I think it's a stamina check, pretty sure, is the deal, which is under strength. So you'll run a strength check. On this terrain, I believe that it will be moderate, so the difficulty will be something like 13 to hit. If you succeed, you'll run the whole distance. If you fail minorly, you'll run like your 10 move or whatever it is, 10 or 12, 8, 10 or 12, whatever your move is. And if you fail miserably, you will fall prone. So if you fail by more than 10 points, if you roll a 3.
Yeah. Then I'll take 2 actions with one of them being trying to run.
Okay, so if you're taking 2 actions, you will roll that strength check or stamina check with a 1d penalty.
Right.
Okay. Go for it then.
Wow. I got snake eyes.
Ooh. All right. So you will get halfway there, but you'll fall prone upon getting halfway there. So you can move.
Cool.
Is your base move 10?
It's 12.
12. Okay, so you can move 12 spaces, but we will note that you fall prone. I'm also going to say, as a result of that critical failure, you will not get to act again this turn, even though you were planning
That's fair.
Because you've essentially fallen on your ass mid-sprint. So that's the deal with that. All right, and then it will be the Archivist's turn. The vault door is still open, so the Archivist is primarily concerned with that. They're going to run over to the archive door and slam it, or the vault door this time, and slam it. The detective droid is not equipped for combat, so he has started recording this encounter, but he will not be participating, unfortunately. So then we are back to the top of the initiative order with Sarviel, I suppose, if that is her real name. And she is going to, again, this is her second action, so she's rolling with a penalty. But she's going to take a shot at Nier with her bowcaster. Now, before I even roll, Nier, you can attempt to dodge the blaster bolt. You have 2 choices if you do that. You can either take it as your pre-established second action and forfeit your second action where I think you were planning to attack her. Or you can take it as an additional action, but if you take it as an additional action, both on the reaction and whenever you attack, you'll roll at a 2d disadvantage instead of a 1d disadvantage. But if you eat up your other action, you still only roll that reaction with minus 1d. The reaction would be dodge, which is under dexterity, I believe, because she's going to be shooting at you point blank. I will say her shot is going to be very easy if you do not react, because you are standing next to her. So.
I'll use my pre-action.
Okay, great. So you can go ahead and roll a dodge, which will be a contested roll against her taking the shot.
Using the 1d penalty.
Right. Yep.
Oh, wonderful. I rolled a 6 to my wild dice finally. 13.
All right. Is that with the additional critical hit?
Yes.
I fear to tell you that while you dodged extremely effectively, luck was still not in your favor because Sar is an excellent shot and also got a critical hit. So she does manage to hit you here. She will roll damage on that. You can roll a strength to resist the damage, and then do you have any protection to energy weapons with your cloak? Is it like a +1 or anything?
I assume my just +2 helped with energy.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds right to me. And you can roll your full strength. There's no penalty on this because it's just to resist the damage, so it's your fortitude.
Okay. 16.
All right. So you will get stunned here. So you take a little bit of damage. The bolt sort of grazes off your shoulder. Stunned means that you have a 1d penalty for the entire next round.
Okay.
But after that, it's gone, even with no healing, as long as nothing else happens to you. And you're still in the fight. Everything's still fine. You're mainly fine, but she definitely hit you. That's kind of the
sure.
long and short of it. All right. And then it would be the droid's turn. The droid doesn't exist anymore. Then we're back to the top of the initiative order. I believe Flash did not have a second action. Nier forfeited their second action. Kahlo didn't have a second action. T-Bone does, though, right? So T-Bone can take their second action.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a blaster attack on the person on top of the rack.
Sure.
Is there any sort of difference because Nier is up there?
No, there shouldn't be. I'm not going to say that you risk hitting them or anything like that in this case, at least.
Okay.
What are the ranges on your weapon?
It is 3 to 25.
Okay, that's good. So it's short range. Short range attack, no cover. Difficulty to hit will be 8. As long as Sar doesn't attempt to dodge, which would.
And I'm taking one 1d penalty because it's my second action.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I got a 1 on my wild die, but I did roll an 8 total.
Okay. In this case, I'm going to say that the shot is a little bit sketchy, to the point that it actually frightens Nier, but in reality, nothing bad happens. The shot gets hit, so you can roll for damage.
Okay. And that doesn't take a penalty, correct?
No.
Alrighty. Oh boy. 19.
Oh, wow.
Oof. Okay. So Sar, actually, she takes the shot square in the back. She's sort of facing Nier. And so she takes the shot square in the back. She falls prone, which puts her in a precarious position in this case, because she's on top of a shelf. However, she is still alive and able to do things. So that's what's going on here. We're going to mark her so I don't forget. And then Sebastian had a second action. He lost it falling on his ass. So we are back up to the very top of this initiative order, which means Sar gets to act again. I believe, right? Yeah, she started. She's going to take multiple actions. The first action that she's going to take is getting up from being knocked prone. So then that means she's done for right now, but she has another action still in the round. I guess she has to roll strength to get up, I believe. I can't quite remember, but I'm going to fudge it and just keep this moving. She gets up. But yeah. Okay, cool. She's still not looking so hot. She doesn't appear to you to be quite the threat that she was moments before. She has been hit by a blaster bolt. She does not have much in the way of resistance. She is clad in sort of robes that are not armored. So you suspect that her inclination to fight is sort of a warrior spirit, not any actual viable understanding that she might succeed. So, then we will go to Flash. How many actions would you like to declare, Flash?
I think I'm gonna do. Let's see. I'm gonna do. If I have an equipment that's like a comm link, does that count as an action to call someone? I'm assuming it does because it's
It
like
will, yes.
Okay.
However, I won't make you roll for that. It will just it will be free in terms of a roll, but if you want to use the comm link and do something else, you'll take a penalty on the something else.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, so I will move up to this area so it's like a cover.
Sure.
I will bring out my sniper rifle, which is a little overkill, but okay. And I won't do the comm link right now. I'd rather incapacitate. So
are you
I'm
going
gonna
to just out of curiosity, are you
I'm just do one action.
two action? You're just doing the one action.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do one, yeah.
Cool, perfect, thank you.
I'm gonna aim for her leg so that it's not gonna like kill her, but incapacitate in some way. So I will roll my blaster, right?
Yeah, so your difficulty to hit her, she is at short range for you. And I'm trying to think. So that's an 8 on a baseline. In order to hit her leg, you're going to need an additional difficulty. In this case, it will be a difficulty of 9. However, if you fail by 5 or more in this case, what I'm telling you is that you might miss the leg and hit something else, which could be interesting. However, that's if you miss a 9 by 5 or more. So I don't know how much of a threat that is to you. You seem to have a pretty good shot.
I do have a scope on the gun. Does that help at all? Because it says projected crawl hologram crosshair as 1D to blaster.
Yeah, so you can use that, I believe, when aiming.
Okay.
So yeah, you can use the plus 1D if the scope is live.
Okay.
I gotta look up the rules about scopes. I think this
Yeah.
has been our last campaign as well, with Kara's character then scoping in on things, because I'm not sure what the strict rules are about. So I will probably learn that for the future. But in this case, I'll just let you use it because it seems fine.
Okay. So I will roll the blaster, and then I'll roll a separate die for the next one.
Yeah, that would be fine in roll 20.
At 18, and then or the D6.
Alright, so 23, that beats a 9 by a substantial amount. So you will manage to hit her in the leg, so you can roll for damage. She's going to roll to resist. In an exciting feat of fortitude, you don't quite understand how it happens.
Oh, no.
Maybe it's Dathomiri magic. Maybe it's good luck. Maybe it's just her sheer will to survive and keep fighting. That blaster bolt hits her in the leg, and nothing happens.
Wow.
Wow. So, I want to highlight, just because you can't see my dice, and if we were in real life, you could. She got a critical hit. She got another 6 in her first set, and when she re-rolled, she got a 4. She is rolling at a 2D disadvantage right now, so the likelihood that she would end up getting to roll 4 dice and get high numbers on all of them is incredibly low. She's on a baseline rolling 3 dice. The chances that a 13 would beat her were very high. But she's hanging on. So then it will be your turn, Nier. And I believe you're stunned, so you're rolling on a baseline with a 1D disadvantage just this turn. That will go away after this turn. But how many actions would you like to declare? Doing that will obviously hinder you more on top of that 1d disadvantage.
So they're stunned, and I think I'm gonna take 2 actions. Like, I'm starting over fresh. I'm not taking like 2 additional penalty. So yeah, I'll take 2 actions. I'm gonna strike her with my lightsaber.
So if you take 2 actions this round, you will roll each action with a 3d penalty. Because taking 3 actions gives you a 2d penalty, and you're stunned, so you have an additional die penalty.
Oh, I am stunned. I am stunned. Yes.
She is also rolling at a disadvantage. She's actually wounded twice, so she's rolling at a 2d disadvantage for everything.
Cool.
But
okay, 2 actions, not 3.
okay.
I
so
will.
a 2d disadvantage for both.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll break my stun. Is that how it works for?
You don't have to do anything about the stun. The stun will fall off after this turn no matter what. The stun is sort of just like being in a haze for a moment. So you don't have to shrug off the stun at all. It will fall off after this turn.
So I'm just a little confused that stun takes an action, though?
It gives you a 1d penalty. It doesn't take an action. So if you only want to do one thing this turn, you'll just do that one thing with a 1d penalty, and that's it.
Oh, right. Yeah, so I want to still take 2 actions in that case, because I want to be able to, 1, attack, and be able to move away on the next turn.
Okay, sure. So if you want to take 2 actions, that will be at a 2d penalty, because it would usually be a 1d penalty, right? So
right. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, exactly. That is fine. So you can attack first if you'd like.
Yes,
and
please.
Get away as the second action. All right.
Yes, please. Yes. I'm gonna finally ignite my lightsaber, which is a double-sided yellow lightsaber, and just like feeling much more confident, hopefully, even though there's a 2 dice penalty, is fine, and swing at her with both sides.
All right. So that is going to be a difficult check, but I'm going to say this moment is surging. Things are feeling good, so it's the lowest level of difficult check. It's 16. So you hit a 16 on this roll. You hit.
Okay. I rolled a 16.
There you go. You hit it. All right.
Great.
So you can roll damage. There's no disadvantage on the damage die.
Great. So it's just straight damage roll.
Yep.
Great. Oh, well, okay. 15 damage.
All right. You suspect, based on her reaction, that this is like the straw that broke the camel's back in the narrowest way possible. She does, so you sort of like take the lightsaber in to take an upward slash. You actually sort of like slip a bit on the shelf. You graze her shoulder. She's been in a lot of pain. She got knocked over by T-Bone's shot. Flash hit her square in the leg with a rifle. She's a little worse for wear. And while you suspect in any other circumstance this like small abrasion on her shoulder would not do much, in this case she sort of just falls over. In fact, she falls off the shelf and onto the floor, incapacitated. She's still breathing. You haven't killed her, but this fight is over. We're out of initiative. You have succeeded in disabling her.
Wonderful.
That was 1 point of damage creeping through. 1 point. But she was in such bad shape, the 1 point moves her from wounded twice to incapacitated. So, yeah. So that will be that. Congratulations on completing your first fight as a party.
Woo! Woo!
We all helped.
Well, Some of us sprinted across the room and fell on our asses, but
We all helped.
most of you.
We all helped equally.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Alright, so what do you all want to do now? You have successfully apprehended the person that you suspect is responsible for the Holocron theft. So what happens next?
I definitely jump down from the bookshelf, just to, like, hold her down to the floor and sort of, basically place her under arrest.
Sure. I recommend not going through her backpack.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, reference to a past campaign. I hope the stream audience will forgive me.
Do we hand her over to the commander, or do we get the Jedi masters down here to take her away?
So you you might actually have a bit of a dispute here if you care.
Oh boy.
You could hand her over to the Republic if you wanted. You could also hand her over to the Jedi. Unlike in the modern era of the Republic, the Jedi and the Republic are pretty separate organizations, and they do both keep separate detention facilities for prisoners of war. So if anyone feels strongly, this might become a little bit of a conflict. But I don't want to assign feeling strongly to you because maybe neither organization cares.
I think it makes sense to turn them over to the Jedi.
Yeah, I want to keep her with the Jedi.
She stole Jedi property.
Yes.
You also, as my noble associate pointed out to me in a private chat, have the utmost, the best resource possible for this situation. You have the official liaison between the Jedi High Council and the Republic military, who could help you sort out what to do with the prisoner if you would like.
That is true.
He's responsible for all of the liaising.
No, I think we're good.
suppose.
As is a joint operation, we should probably just ask him first.
I'm gonna sort of also again salute at the commander and say, "Sir," and then hustle towards the droid.
All right,
And
so you can
I
take
have
her.
no stake in the prisoner game. So
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna drag the investigation bot droid over and say, "Read this."
The investigation droid is going to say, "I am happy to assist. I can call the Jedi Temple Guard immediately." And he's going to press on a comm link on his gauntlet. If it seems like T-Bone doesn't care, Flash, if you care, you should know from this interaction that the Jedi Guard is inbound, and if for some reason you think this prisoner belongs to the Republic, you should act quickly to gather her up.
All right, so I gesture the commander over. I guess that's all clear now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the commander is, he was definitely not hiding fearfully under his table. He was very valiant in that fight.
Of course.
He's gonna hustle on over to where you are at your signal.
Okay, so I'll go down here so she completes. At least comes down to where she is.
All right. So if you gesture to Commander Amada,
Yep.
he will come over, and he will be like, well, no, why am I doing it? Why would I take it over?
Apparently Commander Amada has many voices and many hats. Right, so as the official liaising officer, how can I liaise this situation for you?
Boy. Who has proper jurisdiction over this prisoner?
I would probably need to fill out several pieces of paperwork to identify which party is technically has jurisdiction, because of course myself and my high rank, it seems like I would have jurisdiction on behalf of the Republic for this, but I believe they did steal a Republic object, and so it is technically not a crime against the Republic, although you are the investigating party, so technically it is a crime being investigated by the Republic.
At this moment, the Jedi Temple has pretty good security, and 4 Jedi Temple guards pour through the doors.
The Jedi Temple.
This is where I grab. This is where I grab my nose and I just bureaucracy with a big sigh.
And they're going to actually, so I don't have tokens for them, but they're going to surround Sar's body and ignite sabers and be like, "We are taking this prisoner into the custody of the Jedi Order." And if
Right, and I will help too.
Fine, you can help him. You can help us escort her to our detention facilities. And a couple of them are going to deactivate their lightsabers and pick her up to physically carry her away. So yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel like the investigation is concluded and you know what to do next, at any point you can go ahead and take a shuttle up to the ship. If you have an idea where you want to go next or what you want to do next. If you don't, you can poke around some more. If you want to nose around some more, you can do that in general as well. Whatever you would like.
Did she have any belongings that were left?
Yes.
Alright, so saying this while the Jedi Temple Guard are carrying her away is the last moment you could possibly ask this question without filling out some of Commander Amato's forms. But the Jedi Temple Guard, they do work for the temple, so they're happy to let you search her. So anyone that wants to search her can roll an investigate check for me, and I will let you know what she has on her.
Can I assess the damage to the
Is
droid?
investigate perception or knowledge?
I think it's
investigate
perception.
is perception, and you can absolutely. We'll handle the droid in a second, but you can definitely do that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Right.
Well, I got a 6.
Okay. So. Kahlo, you get to her first. I'm going to say with a higher perception score. That's just what that means. You're able to search her. You are able to get 2 pieces of equipment off of her. She has the bowcaster that she used in the fight. She also has the lightsaber that she used in the fight. That appears to be all. As well as, I suppose, there is a long-distance communication unit that she has, a pretty standard comm link that she can use to communicate with someone far away. She also has a key card to the Holocron Vault, which, if you'll recall, and Sebastian arrives at this point, so he sees sort of what you're pulling off. If you'll recall, Jedi Masters are supposed to have key cards to the Holocron Vault, and Sar was claiming to be a Jedi Knight, so this seems a little bit suspicious to you. Other than that, she's wearing pretty standard robes, and that seems to be all she was carrying.
Can I look at what she was researching?
Sure. You can roll an investigate check. Well, out of curiosity, do you want to just nose around about what she was investigating, or would you like specifically to read the holodiscs that she was reading for the sake of knowledge? Because those are kind of 2 different checks.
Just nose around.
All right, so you can roll a flat
Which
perception.
was researching
for
as the Mortis gods. 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems like literally every holodisc on her table was about the Force Wielders or the Mortis gods. Despite her insistence that she was interested in reading about the structure of Sith hierarchy, she neither seemed to know anything about the Sith hierarchy, and she certainly wasn't reading about it at this table before you were talking to her. It looks like she has a day's worth of holodiscs here, and none of them contain information about the leadership of the Sith.
So Callo will take the key card and ask the archivist whose key card it is.
Yeah, so the Archivist, who's down here by the vault, didn't even get to act a second time, will take the key card and say, well, I'll need to scan that in our database, and I can take a look at it. So he takes it over to the console, and he puts it in, and he looks puzzled for a moment. He keeps hitting more buttons. He looks more and more confused. and he says, "This keycard seems to have belonged to a Master Grell Oma, who was reported missing about 2 months back. So it belonged to a Jedi Master who was reported missing in action during the war."
Would I know where? That familiar to me?
I will say you recognize the name as someone that you fought with, but you don't know his recent whereabouts. It might be something you could look up, but you don't know offhand.
I really want to know why she stole the holocron in the first place.
Yeah, so if you'll all roll me a knowledge check, I will relay some information.
Great. I rolled a 7.
I got a 13.
Perfect. I think I've seen enough. I mean, you're all eventually going to learn this as long as you're not, as long as you're not going to hide this information from each other, and I doubt you would. You all recall that she did say in sort of her confession speech that the holocron was already on Korriban,
Right.
which is a Sith world. So you may not be certain why she did what she did, though it appears she was working for someone else if she sent the holocron off-world and remained here.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm just wondering if this is something we need to retrieve. It's a holocron, but we don't understand why they wanted it in particular. Enough to bring it to off-world. Intriguing.
Yeah, you'll also remember, just in case you've forgotten, because I know I slammed a bunch of expository information right at the beginning, the mandate that your task force has together is to, like, find and uproot what they suspect is a Sith cult that's interested in the Force Wielders. So...
I kind of look to the group and say, do you think this is connected to the cult somehow?
Probably, yeah.
Shadow's like, maybe they want to try to find the Force Wielders. That could be why it was locked up.
Yeah, they probably want whatever information about them was on the holocron.
I mean, they control the universe. What better ally?
I give him a quizzical look and I'm like, yeah, sure.
They control everything.
All right.
Okay, so off to Korriban.
Yeah, I did want to let T-Bone investigate the droid. I believe he was interested in doing that, and I never got to it, so I'm sorry about that. I want to make sure I do that. So you can roll is it technology check, I believe? Or is there a specific skill you want to use?
Yeah, can I do droid programming /repair?
Yeah, absolutely. Seems totally fair.
And I would like to... This is the thing that I know about. If there's any sort of like self-destruct thing for if a droid falls into the wrong hands or something like that, I would like to disable that before I get into anything else, basically, if possible.
Sure.
But I'll roll now.
Okay. So we did get a critical fail here.
Oh, damn.
What I'm going to say happens in this case will be a bit of flavor text. T-Bone is not able to locate a self-destruct mechanism, which is what he starts the search by looking for. In a meta sense, I'll just tell you there's not one. However, what you're going to experience is T-Bone is going to be paranoid that there is one during his entire search of the droid, so he might be a little bit unsettled after this experience.
Got it.
However, what you're able to ascertain from the droid seems to have been purchased in Republic space just a couple weeks ago. Had a memory wipe before that, but you can actually still see like the record of when the droid was sold after the memory wipe. Since then, it has been like working with this woman. It has helped coordinate plans. Is there anything specific you're interested in? Its data banks are very much intact, and it has not been wiped since it was purchased 2 weeks ago. So with that roll, which is very high, I would say you would be able to ask me some questions about where that droid has been and what it's been doing, and I would answer them honestly. There might be some things that are not intact, but mostly you could probably get information from it.
Cool. Is there any communications that we can identify, either like the location of the communication or the, I don't know, contact person, the equivalent of a phone number?
Yeah, so unfortunately the communications the droid was used for were encrypted, so you can't actually tell who they went to. Like, you couldn't replicate the call without the appropriate encryption protocol that you suspect SAR had to input each time in order to be able to access it. However, you can tell that several calls, which corroborate her story, just in case you were curious, seem to have gone to and originated from the space over Korriban, which seems to corroborate her story.
Cool. And then how is there any like frequency of messaging, particularly like any like regularity of a check-in or something like that?
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't have a particular regularity, though she has called someone in the space over Korriban about 5 times in the past 2 weeks. 2 of those calls seem to have happened about 2 days ago, within a couple of hours.
Anything since 2 days ago?
No.
Okay. I would like to call Flash over to help me ask intelligent questions.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm going to let Flash know that there's some encrypted messages. Looks like the space over Korriban. They haven't communicated since 2 days ago. You said something about arranging transport. Is that anything that we might have more insight into? Like, if that wasn't an encrypted message, maybe we can figure out like what ship was hired or something like that.
Yeah, so you do actually have a particular, there's a holo record you're able to access in the droid when you're trying to figure out about shipment, and you can actually, because you've rolled quite well and you're adept with droids, you're able to make it project, and there's a small image of some sort of transaction. There's a small freighter, think like similar to the Millennium Falcon, not the Falcon, of course, but a similarly sized ship. There seems to be like a Deveronian man, which is like man with devil horns, standing in front of the ship, and he just says, "Fine, whatever, I don't care." And you can see SAR in the projection of the holo image, sort of cloaked and hooded and hidden, and she says, "It has to reach Korriban by tomorrow night. Do you understand me?" And he says, "You got the credits, I got the time." And the holo transmission concludes as you see her sort of hand an object that looks like it's probably the holocron over to him, along with a small bag of credit chips.
Cool. So try to make sure Flash takes note of the ship and the man.
Mhm.
And do we know when that was?
That was from early in the morning, about 2 days ago. Let's say 3 a.m. 2 days prior.
Sure. Okay.
So can I like use my military comlink and like ask what ships left that match that description? If they have,
You can
like,
certainly
where-
call into dispatch and see what information they have. Yeah.
okay, so I'll do that.
I won't make you roll for this because you're gonna call dispatch, and they
Okay.
will politely chuckle at you because they'll tell you that the number of smugglers flying off Coruscant in a day is a high number, and they're afraid that as much as they would like to be in control of the underworld in a way that they could give you some sort of information that you're asking for, it's a needle in a haystack job, and they doubt that they have any ability to help you whatsoever. Especially if the ship had confidence that they could reach Korriban. That is not a ship that's checking in on any Republic registry. Because that's essentially like, in the middle of a war saying you're going to take a package to the enemy capital. Nobody that says that is doing anything the right way. Sar was looking to avoid Republic entanglements, as it were.
Okay. Well, I roll my eyes and I throw the communicator on the ground. But I remember, doesn't Sebastian have previous ties to the underworld? Is that like something like any contacts that are useful?
Not really, no.
Okay.
When he came back to the Jedi Order, Sebastian kind of cut all the ties he had with
Okay.
the underworld.
Alright, so we're out of luck then. Well, we just know they're heading for Korriban then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we know he said he'd be at Korriban in a day 2 days ago.
Okay.
The good news is T-Bone's investigation confirms that Sar wasn't lying, which is something you could have doubted before. Seems like all signs to point to the Holocron did in fact leave Coruscant bound for Korriban 2 days ago. So yeah. Okay, I think Kahlo, you DM'd me to say you wanted to investigate something. What was that?
Yes, I would like to investigate more about the whereabouts of the fallen Jedi Master before he disappeared.
I will have to take a moment here as I have to consult my my star charts. I will have you roll a knowledge check before I give you this information. You are able to ask the Archivist where the Jedi Master was reported as missing from. He tells you that the Jedi Master was reported as missing from Terrace. And yeah, with that knowledge check, that's perfect. It kind of clicks in your mind based on everything that's happened today. Terrace is a planet that's pretty near Dathomir. So it sort of makes sense that if he went missing near Dathomir, that he would be somehow related, like it would be possible for her to obtain something from him.
Yep.
I mean, you don't have much information. She may have obtained it after his death in some sort of salvage operation. She may be the reason that he went missing. It's hard to tell, but it does click. Great. Is there anything else anyone wanted to ask before you shuttle up to your base ship? All right.
I don't have anything.
Cool. Perfect.
Can I keep the bowcaster?
So T-Bone and Flash are able to take you to the Republic shuttle that they came down on, which rises through Coruscant's atmosphere and bears you to a lone battle cruiser hanging low in the sky. Let me make sure that we have this positioned well. Well, we've done what we can, I suppose. Maybe I can... Okay, cool. It's hanging low above Coruscant. The ship seems extraordinarily out of place, and it looks distinctly like a Sith ship, which you know that it is. It was refitted. And it is sort of uncomfortable. It makes you all uneasy to see an Imperial craft hanging over Coruscant, because it sort of conjures up fears of a world in which Coruscant has been conquered, which is a very near and real threat at this point in galactic history. Your shuttle docks on the far side of the battle cruiser, and Captain Min is there to greet you. However, that's where our adventure ends today. We'll pick up with your joining forces on the Legla next time.